All right, so a series of questions. I'm going to do these in concert. Someone asked me why I sometimes refer to the Lord's Supper as the Lord's table. This is actually not unique to me. They were asking whether they hadn't heard others do this or why I do that, but this actually isn't unique to me. There's several individuals who talk about coming to the Lord's table as an expression of the celebration of the Lord's Supper. It's been even popularized by songs by Michael Card, Come to the Table. Also another popular recent song done by Christian musicians about this whole notion of the table of the Lord. The whole idea is that it's gather around the table is an expression we would use of a fellowship of family. And so when I talk about come to the table, instead of the Lord's Supper, and I talk about the Lord's table, I mean by that kind of the community aspect of what is to gather around a table together that is implied by both the original institution of the Lord's Supper on the Last Supper, the night of the Last Supper, where the disciples reclined together around on the floor mat table, and that they celebrated the table together like that. They celebrated the Lord's table together like that. And so that phrase, Lord's table, is actually not unique to me at all. I'm stealing that from theological culture that refers to it in those terms. So that's been used really since the Reformation, where the aspect of the community celebrating the Lord's table as distinct from a little more of the individual expression that is sometimes found in more ritualistic approaches to Christianity that you might see in different denominations or different groups. This is more we do this as a family, so we gather around the table together. So I use that proverbially, obviously, because we're sitting in chairs in here and not around a table. But that's where that phrase comes from. It's more the idea of capturing the community aspect of it. All right, second question is this. Is it possible for someone to be a prophet and write about the Scripture? I understand it must not be in any way contradictory to the Scripture, but should we take the idea of prophets seriously? And would God send a prophet today? Why or why not? The answer is, if you mean the word prophet, by the way, the Bible means the prophet, those who actually reveal written or spoken words from God that are not previously been disclosed or revealed. The answer is no. The Scripture is sufficient and complete. The book of Revelation, the church intentionally put Revelation at the end of the Bible because of its statement of completion. Even though the statements itself, originally written by John, had to do with the book of Revelation itself, the church felt this would be a fitting end to the entire Bible as a statement of its completion. So if someone claims prophetic ministry, this means that they are claiming to have the same prophetic voice, if we mean it in the terms that Paul does in Ephesians chapter 4, that God gave to the church first apostles, then prophets, and distinguishes those from evangelists, pastors, and teachers. So when he means prophets there, he's talking about people who speak on behalf of God to the people with unique revelation. I would say we don't have that. If you say there's a prophetic voice, meaning someone speaks today for God to people, but uses the Bible to do it as the only authority that they're speaking those truths with, then now we're talking about there's a way in which even here on Sundays, there's a prophetic voice here at Matthew Road, not because of any original ideas, but because we teach and preach what God has already declared through apostolic and prophetic Scripture. So there are not prophets today revealing new words. If there are, then this leads credence to groups that we would say, for instance, like Muslims, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Worldwide Church of God, the Reverend Moon, all of these groups that we would say, no, they are not because they're inconsistent with the Bible. Well, as soon as we allow for a prophetic voice that someone could speak some new revelation from God, we have to allow, well, then it's possible some of those to be true. And you say, well, they contradict the Bible. Well, what about the things they claim that don't have an explicit contradiction in the Bible? We just go, it's never been stated in the Bible, so we feel like you're saying something that's not there. You don't have the authority to do that. And so that's why we would say the prophetic Scripture was cut off at the death of the apostles, the apostolic cessation of Scripture revelation. So no new revelation, prophetic revelation is allowed today. But there is a prophetic voice still today, and that we declare what was already said. All right, those are good questions. We'll see you guys this week.